Well, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us for our third virtual town hall meeting that we've had in this format since the COVID-19 pandemic started nearly a year ago. My name is Mark Lenhart. I'm the president and CEO here at the Wesleyan. And as was the case with our last meeting, we have some of your representatives from the resident council present. So thank you, co-presidents, for joining us. And at the end, we will, of my comments, we'll open the floor for any questions that they have or anybody else who are in attendance might want to share. Let me first start off by saying how thankful I am for this community. The residents, teammates, family members, volunteers, many others that have been the foundation of support for the Wesleyan family throughout the pandemic and straight into the worst winter that many of us have seen in this area. The incredible selflessness of this community in looking out for one another is that prime example of what makes the Wesleyan so unique. Teammates here were checking in on the residents, family members and residents were checking in on the teammates and their families. And as one resident council member stated to us, they aren't just neighbors, they're not just employees, but they're family. We know the depth of connectivity across this community. However, it is great to hear that we're being recognized outside as well. If I can pause here for just a moment and introduce our chaplain, Paulette Bilby, to open us in prayer. Paulette, please.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Lord, as we rise to meet each new day, please let us be filled with your Spirit. Wherever we go, let us spread love, joy, peace, goodness, and faithfulness. Let us desire to become more like you and to worship you in all we do. Thank you for always going before us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Paulette, thank you very much. Well, we have a number of heavy topics to talk about, but I want to start off with one that is just a little bit lighter. This past week, the Wesleyan was recognized as the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce's 2020 Large Business of the Year. This is the first time the Wesleyan has been recognized by the Chamber in this category. And it was incredible to hear how Georgetown has valued this ministry since the beginnings, nearly 60 years ago. Especially for our new family member, the Wesleyan Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation, happy to be part of that tradition. We do have a recording of that presentation and acceptance. We'll be sharing it through our Touchtown as well as on our website for you all to review. Now, this may not be the thing that we want to talk about, but we're going to have to talk about it anyway. We're going to talk about COVID-19. We're probably all pretty tired of talking about it. We're certainly probably tired of living through it. But we know there's a lot of questions with recent information. So there's new guidance and the questions have been, what are the changes to our policies and procedures as we progress through the pandemic? And I want to share with you a little bit about where we are today. Just in general, I would share that the Wesleyan is in contact with local, county, state, and federal health and regulatory agencies daily for updated guidance and best practices with regards to COVID-19. It may or may not surprise you that the guidance being communicated to us or pushed out sometimes in social media is not always consistent with each other. Excuse me. At times, maybe even out of date, and at other times they even contradict each other. But we're very fortunate that we have subject matter experts, some of which you see here on the screen, and those that work within your building that are able to help us navigate this information. And from that, we glean what is mandated, what is guidance, what is best practice, and we use all of that, the contributions to create an experience for us to help us apply policies and procedures that are appropriate to our campus. And when I talk about campus, we have multiple levels of care. So I'll talk a little bit more specifically about the Wesleyan Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation, but wanted you to know we will have different policies and procedures at all different levels of our campus. We know that many of our WSN residents have friends that are in other parts of the campus or family members, those that visit. And so we just want to make sure that everyone understands there's different levels of care. Now, that being said, I have heard from many of you about asking how we are specifically going to respond to the guidance that's come from the governor recently. Our policies and procedures of this campus are focused on the safety and protection of our residents and our teammate population, along with our volunteers, visitors, and vendors who come to our campus. Now, some people have said that our policies are too much, they're too restrictive. Some of our residents and family members said they're not restrictive enough. Most of our community falls somewhere in between these two comments, and most understand that their role in safeguarding themselves as well as their neighbors. What I do know is our ability to be successful in keeping COVID-19 at bay is the continued teamwork that we have developed with all of you. We are also regulated by state and federal agencies that mandate how we will handle visitation and all the other aspects that are impacted by COVID-19. At this time, Texas Health and Human Services Commission has not revised our regulatory mandates regarding visitation, essential caregivers, screening, testing, and many other items. We do anticipate them making modifications soon if Texas continues with improving trends, and we will be absolutely sure to communicate that with our residents, our family members, and whoever else is essential in their caregiving as guidance is updated. We are very excited, as I know that you are, to see improvement in our community's health so that we can begin moving towards a more normal operation. However, it is important for me to make this one caveat. The horrible numbers of new and existing cases, as well as deaths due to COVID-19 that we have experienced for the last 4 months, and really since the pandemic began a year ago, they have declined. The numbers, though, we are seeing today are not good. It is great to celebrate, and we do, the decreasing percentages. But for those who've been impacted by COVID-19, even one person is really too many. On the Department of State Health Services call that we had yesterday, the state is reporting over 30,000 new cases just in this past week, and 1,800 new deaths attributed to COVID-19 over the last 7 days. What that means is that we will continually revisit our policies and procedures to be proactive in protecting our residents, teammates, family members, and this whole campus. When I talk about we, I mean not only our community, but Williamson County and specifically Georgetown. Williamson County is still in the red phase, and that is defined as uncontrolled community spread. The numbers are better, but compared to extremely high numbers Williamson County had been experiencing. Now, also to share, the numbers and percentages that are being reported are only on those that are the eligible Williamson County population. That is defined as those 16 years of age and older. The state is estimating that that number is right around 458,000 in Williamson County. As of noon yesterday, 7.3% of that eligible population have been fully vaccinated. 7.3%. That means only 33,434 people of that 458,000 have been fully vaccinated. It is a wonderful step, and we have a long way to go. Our teammates are still being tested twice a week. Probably most of our teammates have forgotten how many times they've been tested, although I'm sure they will not forget the experience. I know our residents have had to endure that as well. We have some concerns at this time, as there is a predicted surge in number of cases as a result of the impending spring break. There was also the CDC announcement. The CDC has released updated guidance that begins to outline how those that are vaccinated can start modifying their restrictions in their own households. However, guidance from health agencies still promote that in public settings, mask use, hand washing, and physical distancing is highly encouraged in places where it is not still mandated by state and federal guidelines. So please be aware that the CDC, when they posted this, they specifically stated in their release that these modifications did not apply to healthcare facilities, including skilled nursing and assisted living. We are thankful that these changes are being made. We know that our family members are receiving this information, but to understand that we need to continue to be adherents, not only because they are mandated regulatory guidelines, because we know them to be the best practices for being a frontline defense for our residents and our teammates. Now, I have been asked if I am pro-mask or pro-vaccination, and if I support more restrictions or less restrictions. The answer I give is that my role as a steward of this ministry is that I am pro-resident, pro-patient, pro-teammate, and that I am for the highest quality of care and life for this community in a healthy and safe way. What that really means is we are going to continue to bring all of the gifts that you see in front of you and many other teammates to make the best decisions we can to safeguard those who've been entrusted to our care. I'd ask you to please continue to work with us as we take these next steps together. I will be turning over to Laura Kate if there are questions related specifically to WSN, and we can do that at the end of my comments. Now, in addition to COVID-19, we experienced a winter phenomenon unlike any other in the recent history of Georgetown. I was sharing earlier that social media has called this many things. I kind of liked Snowvid. I thought that was funny. Snowmageddon. But funny those things are, regardless of what it was called, it was harsh. It was unforgiving. And its impact was felt across our nation, our state, and absolutely in this community. I want to stop and praise all of you, our residents, teammates, family members, who jumped to the opportunity to help each other, watching out for them, making sure that they were okay. Our teammates, once again, showed us their heroic commitment to this community. Many worked 24 hours straight, slept over in the buildings to make sure they were here to provide care or services, and traveled treacherous conditions because they knew that they were needed. When we hear stories from neighboring communities about how centers and buildings were abandoned by staff, the residents were left to take care of themselves, that they had no access to food or communication with the outside world, I am reminded that this is not just a place for our teammates to work, it is also their home with a family for whom they care. The leadership of Wesleyan was proactive in providing and asking for an emergency pay on top of routine wages for all of the staff that were on site. For all of the full shifts they worked, in addition to providing meals, sleeping and bathing accommodations, as many themselves were continued to be without power or utilities. We are going to do an after-action review of the emergency over the next few months. There were many, many things that went very well, but there were also ways to improve upon our emergency preparedness. As we look back and find the opportunities to further develop those plans, and God forbid we actually have to use them again, we do want to be prepared, but we would also like your input on what you felt went well and what you think might have been improved. This is being done at each building and will impact how we manage emergencies campus-wide. Now, one of the areas I know that's of great interest to you is our strategic plan. It's a little odd looking at what the future is like when we're really focusing on the day-to-day needs, especially in light of COVID-19, the winter storm, and then all the aftermath as a result. But we do feel like looking forward is important to all of us as a healthy and growing organization. I have shared with you before that the pre-construction work for which we engaged, our development firm and architects, has been completed. Now, normally the next steps would be to go into a financing stage. However, the costs associated with COVID-19, the lack of available contractors to provide the work, also due to COVID-19, and the rapidly increasing costs of materials and supplies because of reduced availability and reduced manufacturing caused us to take a step back and postpone moving forward until it made more sense operationally and financially for the Wesleyan. One of the examples that comes up, it's maybe something we can all relate to, is it used to be about a year ago you could buy a 2x4 for a little less than $2. Today, even using a group purchasing organization with steep discounts, that cost is nearly $7 a piece. You could imagine what a 350% increase in materials could mean to a project of the size that we're talking about. But our board and our leadership team remain supportive of the elements of this growth plan and are communicating with our development and financial consultants on the most productive window to get this project moving forward. There are many, many elements that remain a part of this project, but for WSN, what that specifically includes is the expanding of the building to add and create an Alzheimer's and dementia care unit, the addition of what we know to be a much needed chapel to expand and be the focus of our community, as well as infrastructure and site development to make sure that we have solid connectivity between the campus without having to go out onto Williams Drive. In addition, like many other organizations in Texas, the storm decimated healthy as well as struggling vegetation. Wesleyan was not spared this either. We do want to quickly get back to the beautification of your area, your building, and this whole campus, but there are a lot of important steps for us to consider. We are looking at irrigation and the right time, the right window to bring plants in and to plant. Bethany shared with me yesterday, one of our teammates is a farmer, and he said, if you have thunder in February, you're going to have freezing temperatures yet, I think, in March or April. I am not a farmer, but his family has been for generations, and we want to make sure that we do the right thing. We want to make sure that we take advantage of the right time to plant and to sow the seed so that we have not just beauty for the sake of beauty, but beauty so that our residents, our teammates, can be proud of the home and the place that they work, and then it adds to the quality of life that you all have. Now, I know we've talked about some weighty stuff, but before I wrap up, I wanted to address one more comment, and I'm going to share this with you all, but I'm also going to share this during our teammate town hall meeting. One of our residents on the campus wrote and said, our maintenance team, our dining team, environmental teammates, and nursing teammates, all of the teammates at the Wesleyan have such high standards for serving the residents. We appreciate their attention to our needs and our wants. Are they paid based on the expectations that are put on them? Well, I want to share this. The Wesleyan remains competitive, not only in our salaries, but also in the benefits that are provided to teammates. We offer health insurance where many organizations don't or can't afford to. We have increased the benefits of those plans while being able to reduce the cost of premiums. When we have had an increase, the Wesleyan took on the burden of that increased cost. It did not pass it along to our teammates. We have an incredibly generous 401k plan in comparison to most everybody in our industry. We subsidize training and continuing education. We've continued to provide annual increases, and that may sound unusual to highlight, but many communities like ours have not only not seen standard increases in years, they've actually seen layoffs. I know our own healthcare system in Georgetown has extremely reduced their labor, and we're proud to be able to continue to support our teammates with increases. We have provided free meals for the last year, and even prior to that, we had very low-cost meals and steep discounts in other meal programs that more than compete with local fast food. We have actively pursued the support and funding for tuition reimbursement for teammates who are seeking further education. And in addition to the emergency pay that was provided during the winter storm, teammates, especially those at WSN that were working in a COVID-19 exposed area, received additional compensation during those periods of time. Lastly, the Wesleyan monitors and evaluates compensation levels across our community and industry routinely. And to that extent, our human resource team, as well as our operations team, reviewed and proposed and approved company-wide adjustment last month for our dining and housekeeping services departments for both staffing and existing staffing, as well as levels for people coming in with different amounts of experience. Now, I am continuing to work with our team on new ways that we can make the wages we provide stretch even further. We continue to negotiate for better benefits. We're doing a feasibility study right now for potential workforce housing, as well as how we can bring additional services to this campus for our residents and our teammates. We know that one of the quickest ways to help our teammates is to help diminish the amount of money that has to leave their pocket to receive the services that they need. Now, in closing, what I want to say is I want to thank our team for their hard work throughout the process of vaccination as well. So many have been thankful to have received their vaccinations through the Wesleyan. One family member told me that it is enabled to visit without concern for the first time in nearly a year. And that is all due to the openness and the welcoming nature of WSN and the teammates that were there to provide that care and service. I know this is a lot of information, and I really appreciate your time and attention. If there are any questions that I can answer, I'd like to open it up now, and we'd be happy, myself or the team, to answer those questions for you. Laura, Kate, or Carly, you guys can open up your mic if you'd like.
Do you guys have any questions? No questions here.
Well, it was not long ago that we had a big outbreak in this nursing home. And is there any way you can prevent that from happening again? I myself got COVID-19. I took the infusion. And it was worse than the Cobras. But I was glad to get it. Because I don't know what would have happened if I didn't get it.
Well, I very much appreciate your concern and lifting up that statement to us. Our approach has been one of significant caution. As you know, living there, gosh, we had one case at the very, very beginning, and we went nearly 9 months without another case, and we're thankful for that. Regulatory guidance and certain statutes allowed for visitation, which we think is wonderful and healthy. But I mean, it's just numbers. When there's visitation, when people are around people, the opportunity for COVID spread exists. Even when, WSN was lauded by multiple surveyors, multiple agencies that came in and surveyed us for infection control, and actually asked for and used our policies in other buildings. And again, that's due to the teammates that are here. But even the strongest infection control is not a preventative. It is a help, but it won't prevent COVID-19. So it's a combination of good infection control practices, vaccination, being aware, educating, and a lot of it relies upon a responsibility of each person to follow mask use, hand washing, physical distancing, and really assessing and monitoring their own health, not just for themselves, but for others. And so, when the outbreak did take place, let me tell you, there was a lot of questions. Whose fault was it? Was it this person? Was it that person? What's important is that we practice policies and procedures that are intended to do the best that we can for the residents that we serve, teammates, family members, essential caregivers, all those who serve the Wesleyan. And so we know we've seen those numbers like you've talked about throughout the state. We are starting to see those numbers reduce, and that is good. But I think a lesson that we take from that and from your comment is that now is not the time to become lax in our precautions. Now is the time to continue with proven actions that have led to good results, because again, as quickly as we had an outbreak, those solid infection control procedures and the actions quickly reduced those numbers, really at a decline rate that most facilities don't experience. And we are thankful for that. Obviously, if we all were able to make our wishes come true, we wouldn't have had to experience it at all. Residents or teammates or family members or loved ones from within this community. So again, that's why I reach out and I say I encourage and I ask everyone to continue to join us in our guidance so that we can continue to move in a healthy direction. But thank you very much for bringing that up and reminding us that needs to be our focus.
Well, I'm thankful they got the vaccine out in 9 months instead of 5 years. I don't know what would have happened if that hadn't happened.
That's
Well,
true.
that's true. And that's why we think, again, I would say 7.7% of Williamson County is a good start, but we got to do more. The more arms that it goes into, the better off we are. I think it's also important to say too that because we are in the healthcare industry, we want to say that we also know there's some people for health conditions and other reasons can't receive the vaccine. And so protect those who can, and these precautions helps those people as well. Our job isn't to only serve those who are vaccinated or only to serve those who and feel the way they do or don't feel well. Our job is to serve all those people who are entrusted to our care. And so for whatever reason, those practices are the right practices, virus or not. And so we just want to make sure that we're continuing in those practices. But yes, how thankful are we that many smart minds came together and that the vaccine was made available. I do also know, we've heard recently that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is coming out and it's been distributed to some places, and we'll see how that works. And we know that it will continually be an improved process as time goes by.
Agreed.
Did you mention the number of 30,000 and 18,000? And the covert cases? And what we're referring to, 30,000 cases in Georgetown?
So as a part of our process, Kelly Getz, who's our compliance officer, excuse me, she will tell you policy probably changes every day, if not a couple of times a day. Laura, Kate, and Bethany, Terry, our director of nurses, they are, between all of us, we're probably with just about every state and local agency you can connect with. The numbers I was specifically referencing was for Williamson County, and Williamson County, actually today it's gone up to 7.7%, so about 35,000 plus people that have been fully vaccinated. That means in a two-stage process, they've received both shots. When I was talking about the Department of State Health Services, they were saying that in the last week, we get a call once a week giving us updates for the state of Texas. And in the state of Texas, as of yesterday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, 30,000+ new cases were identified for COVID-19 that came up in 1 week. And 1,800 new fatalities resulted as a result of COVID-19 in the last week. Those aren't aggregate numbers. That's just the performance over the last week. And so it's important, while that's for the whole state and that's not specifically for Georgetown or our community or Williamson County, it's important for us to continue to look at those trends because those trends inform our policies and procedures and give us that experience, and we can kind of look at where those trends are taking place. If it's happening in a certain geographic area and heading our way, we just want to make sure that we stay connected and hear that information. So that's where those numbers came from. The Department of State Health Services here in Texas. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I just think that the Wesleyan has handled this just perfectly. I think the Wesleyan has set an example for other people, other places to follow.
Well, thank you for saying that. I get the incredible privilege of being able to hear things like that, but it's Terry and Laura Kate and Kelly and Bethany and Georgianne and others that you don't see on the screen, our nurse aides, our housekeepers, our nurses, our everybody, Paulette who's on the screen, all of our teammates who are here and providing care, that credit goes to them. I get the privilege of really serving them in what they do well. It's been a very long time since I've been a nurse aide, so I'm not sure you would want that, but we're very, very thankful for those who bring their gifts to serve our residents. And while it's wonderful to be an example to the community, it's most important for us to make sure we're doing right by all of you. So thank you. And what we will do, I will absolutely make sure, and Bethany, please remind me, that when we do have the teammate town hall meetings, we will share your comments with them because we want them to know that.
Absolutely.
Georgianne, we can also share that in the Wesleyan Post.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you get guidance from the state or the federal?
I'm sorry?
Do you get guidance from the state or the federal?
Both. We get guidance. We get guidance from just about everybody. City, local, county, state, federal. It would be our great pleasure if they would coordinate more together. But we also understand these are chaotic times. So communication is challenging at times, but we're a very highly regulated industry. So what I would say is that yes, we hear from, or in communication with, we have connections with all those different levels. And we also have state associations, trade associations that represent us at the state and national levels as well, that their whole job is to funnel information back to us. So we really are never short of any guidance. It's really how quickly we get the guidance, and if we can act on it, and then how it applies to us, because somebody providing guidance from Washington, D.C. is great. But is it necessarily germane to Georgetown, Texas, or specifically our skilled nursing facility, or assisted living, or independent living? And so it's looking at all that guidance and working with the team to discern what is in the best interest of our residents and family members, all those that we serve.
I think you deserve a promotion.
Well, you know what? All of our teammates deserve that. And I think you would hear from our teammates that this is more than a job to them. I think that's what you would hear, and that I'm reminded of a staff member who, when COVID-19 started, she was pregnant and continued to serve on that unit. And my gosh, we had a person who came in for a vaccine last week who cried, and one of our teammates told him, it's okay, the vaccine doesn't hurt. And she wasn't crying because of that. She was crying because she knew that vaccination would help her see family that she hadn't seen in a long time. So, you know, there are a lot of people that are upset about COVID-19, about the vaccines. There's political standpoints on all of it, but those are the comments that we choose to focus on. The residents that we get to see, the smiles they have, taking some of these steps back towards normalcy, and hopeful for that to continue to go that direction. That's where the joy is. And so these are first steps, and we're hopeful for that. And you know, if it backslides a little bit, we'll make some changes, and then we'll keep moving forward. But that's the nature of our life right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for joining us. Carly, Laura, Kate, Beth, anything else you want to share? I think Terry's hiding me. She's keeping a mask on. She's hiding. So you can say something if you'd like, but you don't have to. We appreciate everybody being here and taking the time. Thank you for your questions. What I end these town hall meetings with is this. For those that are joined us, thank you. For those that are watching it with us, thank you. For those that are watching it later, thank you for being there. It's great that we can ask questions and answer questions during this time. This is not the only time, nor the only place to ask questions. That's what this team is for. That's what our neighbors are for. We actually encourage that for people to ask questions. We hope that you don't wait till town hall meetings to ask questions. And so if this didn't answer some questions that you have or that you might have later, please reach out to us so that we can help you with those things. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great week.